I didn't hug my child that day. I didn't remind him of my love for him. I was more concerned on leaving early and packing the car. You may argue and say he knew. Of course he did. I am his mother. But it would have brought me great comfort knowing that in his last few hours he was reminded, don't let my reality be your truth. Make that call. Let them know how you feel. Forgive where you can, for you just don't know which memory will be the last, and let it be a good one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today is day 3 of our 4-day special broadcast regarding grief and the journey forward. For the first 2 days, we focused a lot on mental health and emotional healing. But what I found is that a lot of focus is, or there's not much focus on health. This is almost the train that keeps the engine going. And it's one of the most important things. And today, to help us guide us through this process, is Sofiyya Haffejee, who is the founder of the household brand Aafiyah Healthcare. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sofiyya.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sabihah, how are you keeping today?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. I must tell you, I've been enjoying all your podcasts over the last few days. I've been finding them so informative. Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah so much. And thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule and joining us this morning.
Jazakallah for having me.
So, I think a lot of the time when a person is grieving or when we are grieving, we focus so much on trying to make it through the next moment, trying to make it through the next day, trying to self manage our inner voice and the things that we are telling ourselves. But I find that health is something that we don't focus much on. And people around us are very aware of that fact. I know that during the first few days, I've had like on a call, or whoever was with me, has she eaten? Has she
Mm,
eaten?
mm,
Did you eat
yes,
something? Did you eat? And
yeah,
at that time, the last thing that you're thinking of is food. You're just so
right.
overwhelmed with all these feelings.
Yes.
So, can you give us a little bit more insight into how grief affects the body directly?
Any trauma that we experience is going to be stored in our bodies. So we can actually link that grief to like a traumatic response within the nervous system. And we often think as grief like just as something emotional, but it is actually so intertwined within a complete mind body experience, right? Our brains are designed at the most basic to survive at that moment. So when you lose a loved one, your entire psychological system is is reacting at the same time, right? So grief is interlinked with anxiety, with depression, which will result as a surge of physiological responses such as heart palpitations. Then you can have sweaty hands, tense muscles, physical pain, digestive issues, insomnia, exhaustion. Your immune system will start to act up. The respiration, the digestive system, the nervous system, all of these are partly regulated by close contact to a familiar loved one. So when we lose someone that we love, these important physiological functions are deeply impacted and affected when we experience grief. And so, at times, when we experience sudden trauma or grief, we can experience cognitive changes as well, like memory loss, emotional processing becomes difficult, alertness or confusion. So, grief affects us in almost every part of our existence.
So there's a lot of things going on all at the same time. So you're trying to manage, your emotions on the one side, but on the
Yes,
other side, something that we're not very aware of is that it's taking a toll on our body. And I think
exactly. Yeah.
one of the first ways that we would know, which is a little bit more
Mhm.
conscious, is the insomnia, as you noticed, or maybe oversleeping, the
Yes.
fatigue, and then appetite loss, or suppressing your appetite, or overeating, or emotional eating as well. So
Yes.
I think those are the things that you more or less are more aware of.
Your guest yesterday mentioned that grief is exhausting, and that's exactly
Mhm.
what it is. It is exhausting because it's your emotions going through the most, it's your body going through the most, it's everything happening all at the same time. And like you said, everyone would phone and ask you, had you eaten? And when I lost my son 8 years ago, it was the exact same thing where I would either just be sleeping and then I would wake up like in the middle of the day and realize the time and I hadn't eaten breakfast or lunch. It's as if you just get so caught up in that grief that like time doesn't even become a factor anymore, never mind food or anything else.
I'm so
So,
sorry for your loss, Sophia.
Jazakallah, thanks so much. Likewise.
Thank you. And w- do you think they are the right sort of food to eat during this time? Is there such a thing? Do you think that maybe one just needs to do what feels right at that time, and if it means sitting with that ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and supper, that it's okay?
I wouldn't say okay, but I think that it becomes an entire mindset around this time, right? Where you've got to understand that, and it's also getting yourself to that process to understand that at a time like this, your self care becomes extremely important. So we all know that when we're having these down moments, we kind of reach instinctively for our B vitamins, for our vitamin D. We know that those things are going to be helping us, our magnesium, right? And your omegas as well, right? Because we know the brain loves fat, right? And the brain is craving that fat. And so when we are gravitating towards that ice cream and that chocolate, it's just our brain telling us that we need that comfort and our brain needs that food as well, right? But what happens in this time, and what I feel kind of gets overlooked, and a lot of people who visit have the best intentions, but are always bringing you cakes and biscuits and chocolates and those type of things, which can actually then exacerbate those symptoms of your depression, and they make it feel so much worse. And so you will know also, like when you had gone through it. Um, that if you're reaching for those sugary foods, for the empty carbs, for those type of things, once you've eaten that, you actually feel worse afterwards. So at a time like this, your self-care during this time becomes um, so much more important when you are grieving, because like we said, the grief is exhausting for your body and it's actually taking up um, a lot of your energy and a lot of your focus at that time. So, the one thing I think where we could start off, and why I'm mentioning this instead of a supplement, right? Because the supplements are there to kind of fill in the gaps, but we actually have to do the hard work, and there's no getting away from that. It's making yourself a priority in that time and saying, look, to yourself, I've been through the most right now. And it's getting yourself to a realization that I've got to still get up in the morning and I've got to still be there for my other kids, for the rest of my family. And I've got to show up more than anything else for myself, because you've got to get yourself through that. And that's the only way. And so the first thing is the realization. And like your guest mentioned on the first day, that it's not a linear process. You're going to go back and forth. You might go to acceptance, you might go to denial. They're not necessarily going to happen in that sequence that is textbook. You'll go back and forth and you'll come up and down. But attending to that self-care during the times of grief is absolutely a necessary focus in order for you to move on and for you to heal. And I personally would recommend having a good routine, having structure. Because, like we say with toddlers, we give them structure, we give them routine, because this makes them feel safe. And in the same way, we are craving that safety again. So, some of us might look for it in food, or we might look for it in scrolling our media, right? but giving ourselves that structure and that routine. And when I say self-care, I'm not talking about our manicures and our bubble baths and that type of thing, but the very basic self-care. So we start off with, and these are the supplements that you can't actually replace. So like you wake up in the morning, if you're waking up for tahajjud, right, and you're going to read your tahajjud salah, that is your time to let go of your emotions instead of storing them. Your crying on the musalla is letting go of your emotions, right? And then and this is also accepting your emotions and dealing with your emotions, because no supplement is going to replace that. So whether it's grief or whether it's anger or whether it's sadness or whatever you're going through at that moment, overthinking, there's a way to get through all of these emotions. So grief, and also we need to ask ourselves, what is this emotion teaching me at this point? What does it want from me at this point? So when we have grief is causing us to kind of move inwards and look inwards. So what is that saying? It's saying that we need to examine these feelings and deal with them. If it's anger, we need to get that out. It's trying to move you forward in your life. If it's overthinking, then that's when you write and you will journal, or you put all those thoughts down, because those thoughts are there and they need to come out. So the first thing is acknowledging those emotions. And the second thing then is getting your routine into order, right? So if you're waking up for that tahajjud, and then you're going to read your fajr, and then you're going to do your dhikr, right? Because Allah Ta'ala says that for the person who is doing his dhikr and after fajr and after asr, I will suffice for him for the intervening periods. So what more can we ask for? If we've got Allah Ta'ala sufficing for us in that time, He will take care of our emotions. He will take care of all of the things all of the worries that we might have, right? And then that sunlight in the morning. You open your curtains. You have to get that sunlight in, because this is going to start regulating your circadian rhythms. And so very often when we're grieving, we're waking up in the middle of the night. The one reason we might be waking up in the middle of the night is because Allah Ta'ala is calling us. He's saying you want that comfort and you're going to find it on the musalla. Right? And the other reason we might be waking up is because we've messed up our circadian rhythms. We're not getting enough sunlight during the day. We don't want to go out. And one of your guests mentioned actually something very appropriate. And she said that sometimes we hold ourselves back. We get in our own way of healing. And because we kind of want, and you said, grief feels like you're stuck. And that's exactly what it is. And so when you start holding these emotions, you do get stuck. And then after a while, you actually start finding that even in your body reacts by being stuck. Your digestive system might get stuck. Or even we start holding our breath, And a Chinese practitioner once told me that we hold our grief in our lungs, So we start, and we're not breathing properly. We're not letting that out. So I'm going a lot into emotion here as well, but I'll bring in the supplement now, and I'll tell you why, right? So also when we're having that salah throughout our day at its fixed time, this brings in like more structure to our day, more routine in our day. And then when we go for the healthy, nourishing meals, and this is where a lot of our supplements come in here, because sometimes you don't want to cook, or maybe the food that you're being given is maybe not the most nutritious, right? But these are the times now that your self-care comes in and you realize that I need to balance this plate out, right? So half of it is going to be my veg. Just a fistful is going to be my carbs, and a palm size is going to be my protein, and a thumb size, that's going to be my fat, right? And that's the easiest way. It's not a time for drastic changes. It's not a time now because your body is going through the most here. So what you want to do, so I would say like from supplement ranges, this is where you start looking at things that are more food-based. You want to eat food that is alive, that is real. You want plants. You want you don't want things from the box, things that are packaged, because if you're eating good food, you're going to feel good. And so that's why also a lot of our supplements are like the beetroot, your greens, your spirulina, your moringa. These are going to provide you with those vitamins, and it's going to help you get through your day and give you that energy, right? But at the same time, you also might want something that would help you to go to sleep at night. And you find that sometimes when your mind is overthinking a lot, and this is where the ashwagandha comes in. I find this one absolutely amazing, right? Please stop me, because when I start in supplements and I start in this topic, I can carry on. So will you need an ad break?
I do need an ad break. I think you read my mind. So, yes, we don't want our sponsors to be angry with us. So we are going into a break, but you've shared so much information here. I'm making mental notes and notes. Yeah, but we'll chat soon.
Okay. Jazakallah.
Captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nani. Now I'm using Tib black seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib black seed. You can find Tib black seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only 5 Rand a day, or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference. When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists, with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
And Sofiyya Haffejee is with us this morning discussing health and during this a time of grieving. Sofiyya, we have about 5 minutes left. Quickly, can we talk about the supplements? Sometimes we know how important having a nutritious meal is, but sometimes you just can't get it done. And I understand that, you need to center your life accordingly, keep self-care because your body is holding the strain of this grief, and you can only bypass it, or you can make the journey easier if you do take care of this. So are there any supplements that can be taken during this time?
Again, this ashwagandha is one of the most amazing supplements, but I honestly wish that I had had this when I was grieving. I find it now that this is something that we reach for. Like we said, your grief isn't just an emotional response, right? We said that when you're dealing with this tragic
So
loss.
if I can interrupt you there, sorry.
Yes.
What is in there? What is in ashwagandha?
Ashwagandha is derived from a root, right?
Okay.
So it's the scientific name is Withania somnifera, and so that is basically just a root. And so what's in our ashwagandha capsule is just only purely powdered ashwagandha, right? And you would take, and so it is an adaptogen, so it kind of helps the body to get through, it brings the body basically to optimal functioning, right? But it doesn't just help you physically, it helps you emotionally as well.
Okay.
So like I always say, now when you're going through grief, right, like we're saying now that it is very interlinked between what's happening in your mind and what's happening in your body. There's a direct link, right? So you're going through that physical, that chemical stress, that emotional stress. So the ashwagandha is very, very effective because it helps to improve your brain health. And a lot of the ashwagandha's benefits are still being understood by science, to back it up, right? But many of the holistic practitioners have known about this for many, many years, which is why you would find ashwagandha also in like the Huawei packs that have been given to women like for the longest time in India. For so many years, it's been given to women when they've given birth, right? And a lot of people thought it's just, okay, this is the azkhand, they would call it, and they would say it's going to strengthen your back and it's going to help your milk supply. But what it also does is to calm you emotionally. Now, what happens in that 6-week period? And because I'd lost my son through a stillbirth, I was in that same 6-week period while I was trying to recover, and my grief was all happening at the same time, right? But what happens at that time, and it's very similar to what happens to you when you're grieving, is that all your other defenses are down, so you're very vulnerable emotionally at that time. And that is also, it just also happens to be the time when people come and tell you sometimes the silliest things, they might mean well, they're coming from a good place, but I know there were people who visited me and said to me, don't you wish you'd gone to the hospital a little bit earlier because you might still have your son then, or perhaps if you had done something differently, he would have still been here. And at that moment, you can give a reply and say, oh, well, it was Allah Ta'ala's will. It was written that way, But like your guest was saying yesterday, when you're on your own, and that is when Shaitan is whispering to you, and then you're saying, but perhaps if I had, and this is one of the reasons why I love the ashwagandha. It helps you mentally to feel stronger so that you can move forward much easier, right? It helps to manage that incapacitating grief that you feel sometimes, where you feel like so overwhelmed that you can't move even, and it helps you, it gives you that mental strength that you have to push forward. It has the unique ability to calm you and also to relax you, but also to give your mind a kind of a peace. I spoke to a psychologist a few weeks ago, and she was telling me that before any of my sessions, I pop like 3 ashwagandha just to be able to handle the stress of dealing with patients, So it really gives you that mental focus as well, and it makes you much calmer, and it kind of helps you to get through those very difficult times. And so, yes, the self-care is there, and the eating is there, and your attitude and your connection with Allah Ta'ala is there. But you bring in the supplements just to kind of aid you and to help you get through that day a little bit better. And then it also helps with the insomnia, because a lot of times we have these thoughts running through your head, and what if I'd done that differently, or what would have been happening now, or maybe about the future. And as you're dealing with all of those thoughts, it kind of keeps you up at night. And so this is where the ashwagandha comes in. You take ashwagandha, and if you combine that with a magnesium glycinate immediately after your supper, then that starts to relax you, so that by the time you're ready to go to bed, your mind is kind of already shutting off. And when you do sleep, you're having a much more restful sleep. And that's when your brain is kind of recuperating from the day and moving all your memories into subconscious, and you kind of dealing with everything in your sleep. And this is why I love the ashwagandha for that.
And I love that you said that, because for me, I found that sleep was the most healing. When I
Yeah.
took that nap, I would wake up feeling so much better than I did
Yeah.
when I went to sleep before then. I wish we had more time to discuss this topic, but Jazakallah so much for sharing all this knowledge.
Jazakallah
And
for having me.
yeah, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Jazakallah, and you too, Sabihah. Assalamu
Thank you.
alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. And that was Sofiyya Haffejee discussing the benefits of self-care and keeping yourself a top priority during this very difficult time. We will be going into an ad, and straight after we will be chatting to Zeenat Kajee, who is from Hijama by Zeenat.
hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Spread warmth this winter with Africa Muslims Agency's Winter Warmth campaign. Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu would advise his companions, winter, which is an enemy, has come, so prepare for it with wool, leather socks and socks. Let us help the thousands of South Africans without adequate clothing or shelter to prepare for the harsh winter months by providing them with blankets for 150 Rand and winter warmth packs for 300 Rand. Spread warmth with Africa Muslims Agency. Call AMA on 011-834-8685 or donate online at africamuslimsagency.co.za. Africa Muslims Agency. Empowering, educating, inspiring.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
When you give water, you're reaching out to drought-affected areas, bringing them to life. Fresh water to drink, to clean, and to grow. That's the power of water. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
At Sentio, our Invest for Good philosophy is based on a genuine desire to use our investment skills for the benefit of broader society by investing responsibly, giving charitably, and developing talent that will transform the investment industry. Visit www.sentio-capital.com for more information about our Sharia investment products and start saving with us today. Sentio Capital. Invest for good. Sentio Capital Management is an authorized financial services provider.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and you are back with Sabihah, and we are unpacking grief. We've got Zeenat on the line. Zeenat will be on the line with us today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Zeenat. I'm so sorry, Zeenat. I can't hear you.
Hi, is that a bit better?
Okay, much better. I think they fixed it
Okay.
with the people that needed to be fixed. Okay, so we do have you on radio or streaming instead of, on the YouTube link as we always do, which is fine as well. Jazakallah so much for joining us this morning.
No, it's a pleasure. Jazakallah for having me.
Okay, so I think Sofiyya, in our previous chat, she basically touched a lot on how grief affects the body and the processes that one goes through and the strain that this takes, which can come up in various different ways, namely being insomnia, indigestion, appetite changes, fatigue, exhaustion, all of those things. And and we discussed how self-care at this time, though it's very, very difficult, needs to be at top of mind, and that we must try as best as we can to keep this together, to ease the strain of the stress and grief. And it has been repeated in various hadiths that hijama or cupping is a cure. Is there something like this? Can one do cupping to help with grief?
100% Sabihah. Everything you said is so correct. We firstly need to understand that any trauma gets embedded in the body. And with our conventional medication, they do not address the body, the mind, the heart, all of these things as one. They basically just treat the disease that you have and give out a script, and you basically suppress everything. Hence, as people age, with trauma and the grief that they go through, it affects the various organs. So hijama is amazing. As you mentioned, it's been narrated in a few ahadith that it's a cure for all diseases. I generally try and administer a physical treatment with patients for about 3 or 4 sessions. And we see if we're at a block, then generally there is an underlying emotional cause. So, for example, if someone's got kidney stones or bladder infections, we work on the kidney points, 3 to 4 sessions. If there's no progress and I'm finding that, nothing is working to get this patient recovered, it's generally a trauma that has taken place at a certain time linked to the kidneys. So the kidney is affiliated with the emotion of fear. The liver is affiliated with the emotion of anger. And the lung is affiliated with emotions of loss and grief. So it's amazing that whatever ailments people suffer from, there's generally some emotional trauma that's underlying, whether it was in the past or whether it's because, fears, for example, people have that about the future. People have anxiety. A lot of people have a running tummy the minute they're anxious, and it's linked to the tummy. So every single thing is connected. Hijama is a great way to manage it. Being a sunnah, we know what the benefits are, but it's so great because it's a sunnah. There's certain benefits we don't even know what they are. We're not aware. It's just having that blind faith and yaqeen that, this was revealed to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on the night of Miraj by all the angels. They instructed him to perform his ummah with hijama. So it's something really, really amazing that we're gifted with.
That is true. So what I'm hearing is that there's 2 parts to this, emotions that are suppressed, that haven't been dealt with, that could have happened, at any time of one's life can pop up. And this could be a direct disease that affects the body, and hijama can then sort of mitigate this or treat it. That's the one thing. The other thing is at the time of grief. So, for example, if a parent has lost a child a year ago or maybe a month ago, would hijama bring some sort of ease on the body during that time?
Definitely, Sabihah. You see, so hijama has got side effects which are really positive. For example, one of the side effects, it's got sedative effects. So it's very calming on the mind. Also, there's something known as ruqyah cupping, where someone recites Quran, certain ayats of Surah Baqarah, certain du'as of the Prophet, which helps the body let go of whatever trauma is stored. Even the way hijama works to remove any black magic or sihr or internal grief or internal depression, it actually cleans the blood. And whatever we carry lives in our blood. This trauma gets embedded within a tissue layer, in a muscular layer, in an organ and bone depth. So it's all directly related.
Okay, and so there's 2 ways. Then you can do it. And is this something that can be done in in the comfort of your home, or do you need to go out to somebody? Is this something that's mobile?
Sabihah, it is mobile, but to be honest with you, I don't know if I would advise that in terms of having a sterile environment. You know, you're working with needles, you're working with blades, you're working with alcohols. So I don't think the home setting is the best. A lot of people do offer mobile service, and I understand that a lot of the patients are a lot more comfortable with the home service. But I guess it depends on what's the patient's requirement. You know, if you do prefer a professional, completely hygienic setting, then it would be better to go and see someone at a medical center. And also back to what you mentioned about self-care. Self-care does entail us, unfortunately, going out and getting it. You know, to break away from the negative environment, because you cannot heal in the environment that broke you. Even though that may be your home, yes, your child, I cannot even begin to relate what that pain may be. But you have to just change the environment, change the energy. And a lot of the time we don't. We choose to pull the blanket over our head and just hope that pain will go away. But it's not the case for a lot of people. For some people, alhamdulillah, it can happen. But other people, you physically need to go out and get the treatment. And I feel the change of environment is a big game changer for a lot of patients.
Yes, and as Sofiyya was saying earlier, you know, it's going out, feeling the sun on your body, removing yourself from that environment, experiencing a different sort of energy. You know, it almost makes you feel normal again.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it also forces you to recognize the blessings of Allah. They're so minute, but they're so great. Like you just mentioned, the sun, the wind, the small pleasures of just having hot water, and the small pleasures of whatever, walking on the grass bare feet and being grounded. Those are small blessings, I think, that we have to internalize and have a theme of gratitude day in and day out, because that's the only way and the only thing that gets you out of this.
And where would the cups be placed? So basically, if you could take us through the process, a person comes in for a consult, you know, and this is somebody who has lost somebody very close to them. What would be the process from there?
When I have patients that come in, Sofiyya, as you mentioned, there's a consult done, right? Generally, it's more focused on the physical ailments aspect, right? However, like I mentioned, by the second or third treatment, if I feel that the blood looks the same, because in this field, you analyze the blood color, the blood consistency, any acid present, and from there you decide, okay, is there something deeper? Because sometimes it's not just the physical ailment. So when they come through, like I mentioned, I try and do up to 3 vital organ detoxes. So that covers Sunnah point, it covers a lung and a digestive area, it covers your kidney, your liver, your gut point, and your reproductive area and any other bodily pain that a person may experience. So I generally love to start off with a vital organ detox, which does address more physical than emotional ailments. However, your Sunnah points address emotional ailments. So that's your emotions of anxiety, depression, stress, the pressure of life. Generally, you know, someone can have such immaculate looking blood from head to toe. However, the Sunnah point on the base of the neck is entirely blocked because there's no circulation to the head. Your pituitary gland, everything that regulates your oxytocin and your serotonin and all of your hormones that make you feel good. So yes, it may look 10 out of 10 physically, it is a mental and emotional block.
And once again, we are reminded that there is a direct link between the mental and the physical, and taking care of your physical being can make you feel better as well. We will be going into a quick break, and we will be back with Zeenat, Kajee.
The Turkey-Syria earthquake is among the deadliest earthquakes of the last century. Thousands have lost their lives, and large areas and cities and towns in southern Turkey and northern Syria have turned to rubble, leaving huge numbers of residents with very little or nothing at all. Al Imdad Foundation's emergency relief team is on the ground providing life-saving aid. The people of Turkey and Syria desperately need your support. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Online schooling? Why not? Kurtuba Online Academy is the leading global online Islamic school from grade R to matric, offering South African caps and international syllabus. And it doesn't stop there. We also offer online madrasa for every grade. For more information, visit www.kurtubaonline.co.za. Kurtuba Online Academy, the leading global online Islamic school.
What makes Randery Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our range of exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewellery? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewellery needs? We believe it's because at Randery Jewelers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Randery Jewelers to make it special. www.randeryjewelers.com. Make your moments last forever with Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only 5 Rand a day, or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
And we are back with Zeenat Kajee discussing health during the time of grief. Zeenat, would one directly feel the benefits of cupping during a time of grief or anxiety? Do you actually feel it physically?
Absolutely, Sabihah. So the thing with alternate medicine, how it works, it supplies your body with whatever your body needs. So side effects that people feel are very different. Some have, I would say both ways, they're positive, but I'm going to use the term positive and negative, right? So positive would mean someone immediately feels highly uplifted, very, very light. They feel very energetic. They've got a lot of energy for the day. And those are generally the people who are your couch potatoes, who grieve so deeply that they have no energy and no will to get up and continue. On the other hand, you get those who are overly busy, who don't allow themselves to feel it. They just continue going and going and going. Where Hijama supplies your body with what you need, like I said. So it forces those patients to calm down. It forces you to feel tired. It forces you to want to rest and relax and feel like, okay, I just need to nap after this. So it's quite amazing that it just gives your body what your body needs, because everybody copes differently. Some people just want to keep on going, and what could I say? They suppress the pain, if that's the correct word, and then you get others who feel it to a point where they cannot function. And this is the direct effect that Hijama with acupuncture has on the body. It will supply you with whatever you need. Back to your question, is it immediate? I would say for some people, I've got a mixed range of patients who feel, some will tell me the next day, I feel it immediately. Whereas others do take 3 to 4 days to feel it, or 3 to 4 sessions, because it depends how deep rooted is this grief that we have. Because, I mean, I get patients who are 50, 70, who come with issues to treat. And remember, now we're trying to reverse 50 years of issues, or 60 years of issues, because they have trauma that started when they were child. So reversing this process takes multiple sessions.
Okay, so it's dependent from person to person, and each person has a unique way of healing.
Yes.
Is there a minimal age? So if somebody has siblings, and like if I think about my own kids, they are also grieving and going through this process in their own way. Is there an advisable age that cupping can be done?
So unfortunately, Sabihah, one has to be baligh. So we only
Okay.
start hair cutting, which is hijama, once they're over baligh age. Because when a child is younger, their body does not produce enough dirty blood as yet. So that's a health hazard. It's a contraindicator for them. So unfortunately, they cannot be treated from a minor age.
Okay. And I see that the studio has pictures of acupuncture. And I think previously, when we chatted a little bit, you did make reference to acupuncture as well. Is this something that's done in conjunction with hijama for anxiety
Yes.
and grief?
So Sabihah, you get two types of acupuncture, right? Well, I mean, a lot more, but I'm only going to address two. You get your body acupuncture, which is more for physical ailments to treat issues of inflammation. So chronic pain, muscle spasm, joint fatigue or whatever. And then you have something known as auricular acupuncture. I'm sure a lot of the listeners have heard about it. There is something also called acu-detox. They're the same, but they're not the same. So auricular acupuncture is used to address any type of physical ailment, right? So the ear is a microsystem of the body. You place needles into the ear to treat those particular ailments. So auricular acupuncture is very similar to reflexology, but here you're using the ear with needles instead of pressure on the feet. Acu-detox is something that directly addresses grief and suppressed emotions. So with the acu-detox, which is also 5 needles in the ear, it addresses 5 special points, which deal with stress and anxiety. It deals with calming the body down and sedating the body. And then it treats 3 vital organs, which I mentioned when I discussed hijama. So it addresses the kidney point related to your fear emotions. It addresses your liver related to your anger emotions, and your lung, so loss and grief emotions. These are the 3 main organs that you need to keep healthy in your body. So if it cannot be physically revived, hence we have to go to other options to now emotionally revive you and unblock all these energy channels in the body. Takes a series of sessions, but like I said, by incorporating both, one is a catalyst to the other. So if one may work slower and one may work faster. So my patients generally achieve a much more relieved, calmer state by incorporating both the acu-detox with the hijama.
Can this be done together, or is it generally advised to have a few days of a break in between?
So they can be done together, which I prefer in my work, as like I mentioned, that one is a catalyst to the other. However, it depends on the patient's threshold. If someone's coming to me for the first time, then I would only focus on one thing, introduce them slowly if they have not done these treatments before. It may tend to be overwhelming. With the auricular acupuncture as well, side effects with applying your body what your body needs. I mean, I've treated patients who've had an immediate outburst of tears the minute I remove and I start taking out those needles. Because they feel something, they feel an energy shift in the body. So it can be done together or apart. It just depends on the practitioner, it depends on the patient, what's their threshold. Can they manage needles, blood? And, once they build that resistance and they're used to the treatment, they actually ask me to incorporate as much as possible, which is your body acupuncture, your auricular acupuncture, your acu-detox, and your hijama, all at once.
And you are right. A lot of people have been talking about auricular acupuncture. It seems to be the buzzword of late.
It's definitely trending. So the only advice that I could give the listeners is make sure you're going to a licensed practitioner. Same thing with hijama. You have to make sure that you're going to someone. I mentioned about being sterile in the environment, also with quite a bit of experience that can guide you on what's best for you, because what's good for one may not be good for the other.
Have you had patients who have experienced the opposite of going to practitioners who are not licensed or certified or do not have the proper experience?
Absolutely, Sabihah. I get patients maybe every second or third day where unfortunately they come with marks. You think they've been butchered. The marks have keloided. They look very, very fresh and very recent. Yet the hijama was done maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So it's quite unfortunate that it's just become like a malpractice where people tend to do it as a home-based business, if you know what I mean, with all due respect to
Yes.
home-based businesses. You just have to make sure you're going to someone who has that experience. And when people ask me, I mean, I always say, get references. Don't worry about the certificate or no certificate, but reference is important because when someone gives you word of mouth reference, they generally don't lie. So that's important because you may have someone who does or doesn't have any certificate. People don't even put those things up half the time. But unfortunately, it scars a lot of people when it goes wrong. I mean, I've had a lot of first-time patients who were very, very put off with their past experiences, and it took a lot of convincing for them to actually try me. They had to hear from many other references, okay, you know what, why don't you try this? Why don't you try again? It's not supposed to be painful. And, when they do come to me, it comes with a lot of reassurance that it's not supposed to hurt you, cutting or acupuncture. It's supposed to be pleasurable. And with my experience, I generally have a lot of my ladies who giggle because they find it really ticklish more than painful.
Yeah, and I suppose how would one check? So you gave insight into getting reference and finding out before, and I think that's very important, especially when it comes to self-care and managing your body, because some things are painful and cannot be reversed.
Absolutely. And, besides the physical pain that a person has to go through, I think the emotional scarring, because going to someone and having expectation of what you want after your treatment, let's be frank, everyone pays for their treatments. The last thing you want is to be disappointed that was not worth what you expected. Monetary-wise, as well as emotionally-wise and physically-wise, it's a real disappointment that you put yourself out there, you went to someone, and you trust them with your health. You trust them with your emotions. You trust it as a safe space, I mean, when clients or patients come to me, coming for cupping, I always remind them, it's cupping therapy. That's the full term, because you're here for a form of therapy. And, I mean, I keep showing gratitude to them because I am where I am or who I am because they choose to come to me and they trust me. So it's important to build that credibility with your patients. And those who are new to it as well, you have to make sure that you do the background checks. You can't be looking to say $50 here or there, and nor can you be willing to say, I want to go to someone who has to be in my area, even though logistics are important. But you rather go the extra mile and know it's worth every cent of your treatment.
And I suppose that's true. It's your credibility that got you on the show this morning because of your huge insight into this. And I think it's each person's calling, and it's something that you need to follow depending what that may be. And everybody has a purpose.
Absolutely. With Hijama, it being a sunnah, I don't even think we should even question what the benefits are, because it's just profound that there is so many hadiths that were revealed on Laylatul Miraj of the wisdom of Hijama.
And I'm so happy that we got to highlight the benefits of this in a time of grief and in a time of anxiety, because I think usually a lot of us tend to do cupping on sunnah days, or if there's a specific issue that we're experiencing, like infertility, or like you mentioned, other body ailments. But this is an option if you are grieving. This is an option if you are going through a hard time as well. And you can't really feel, you may not have a kidney stone, but emotionally you can feel that, you need to be unstuck or unblocked. And this can be a method to help you get through that.
Definitely. And like you mentioned, each person has their calling, whether you're the practitioner or whether you're the patient. I think we can only reach out to one another to support one another because everybody is experiencing grief in a different form. So each to their own way. You need to choose a process that works for you and what you choose to use as your coping mechanism.
That's very important. Jazakallah so much for joining us today and for sharing your wealth of knowledge regarding cupping and the benefits at any time in one's life.
I mean, Jazakallah to you, Sabihah, and to Salam Media for having me on the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And that is day 3 of our very special broadcast regarding grief and unpacking the different parts, the different facets that make up this journey. Please do join us tomorrow at 11 o'clock, where we will be talking about therapy and the importance of this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.